Good morning, students of class 9. Welcome back to the online classes now. Let us continue our lesson in history, pastoralists in the modern world. I hope you are staying safe and doing your regular studies at home and going through the online portal every day. So today we'll do the last portion of this chapter, pastoralists in the modern world. And in our next class we'll do peasants and farmers, another. So today is the last portion. You see, we'll talk about the pastoralists, and so far we have talked about the pastoralists of Africa, and we have taken the example of Maasai pastoralist. Once Africa was colonized, the pastoralists had a very hard time. We have seen their lands were taken away, the herds were reduced, and they faced a number of problems, especially during drought and famine. Ultimately, they had to change their traditional work of herding the animals. Now, you see, we have talked about the Maasai society. They were grouped under two groups, such as elders and warriors. We have talked about that. The elders had the responsibility of looking after the affairs and making laws and settling disputes, and the warriors had the duty to protect the tribe from other pastoralists who come to raid their cattle. So you see that was their tradition, that was the culture. But now, once the chief was appointed by the colonizers, everything changed. Not all were equally affected. So these newly appointed chiefs, they accumulated wealth. In our previous class we have talked. So let us continue now. This is the last portion. There are altogether 4 points here. Number 1, the social change in Maasai society. The social change. What was the social change about the difference between the elders and the warriors? It has changed. The social change in Maasai society occurred at 2 levels. The change occurred at 2 levels. What were those 2 levels? Number 1, first level, traditional difference based on age, according to the age. Based on age between elders and warriors was disturbed. Because the colonizers stopped raiding the cattle, stopped the elders from forming rules and regulations. So in this way, the difference between the elders and the warriors was disturbed. It was their tradition, but it was disturbed. Number 2, a new and clear distinction between the wealthy pastoralists and the poor pastoralists developed. Now there was a clear distinction between the rich and the poor pastoralists developed. Some of the pastoralists, they were very rich, such as you can see the newly appointed chief. They were also pastoralists, but they were appointed as chief. They accumulated the wealth and they lived in the towns and engaged themselves in trade, whereas their family lived in the villages and they had a huge number of cattle, and the cattle was reared by other pastoralists who were poor. You can see there was a clear and distinct development of rich and poor. Differences between the rich and the poor pastoralists developed. So these 2 levels, a change, social change in Maasai society took place in these 2 levels. Now number 2, pastoralists are not the relics of the past. It is not the story about remaining portion of the story of those people. It is not the relics of the past. They were in fact the real participants of the freedom movement, as well as they were part of the history. They led their lives, they suffered hardships in order to create modern world. So you see that pastoralists are not the relics of the past. They are not the people who have no place in this modern world. They are not the people who have no place in this modern world. So modern world has forgotten them, but they, as much as they very much took part in this formation or making of this modern world. So we should not forget about them. They are also part of the history. We must remember about their hardships, how much hardship they have faced, what trouble they faced, how they fought with the colonizers in order to fight for their rights, and so on. So they are not the people who have no place in this modern world. Just as much as we have the place in this modern world, they also have the place in this modern world. So they managed to adapt to new times and survive. How much hardships they faced, we have talked everything in detail. So they adapted themselves to survive in this modern world. Still you can find pastoralists around the world. Still today, how they managed to survive? Because they knew how to adapt. Those who can adapt, they can survive. Those who don't know how to adapt, or those who cannot adapt, they will perish. So you have learned about the survival of the fittest. Those who are fit, they will survive. Those who are not fit, they will not survive. So similarly, here they managed to adapt and they survived. And still you will find pastoralists around the world. Even in India, we find a lot of pastoralists still in the mountains, desert areas, plateau regions, and the plains. You find it. You find them. So number 4, environmentalists and economists around the world. Environmentalists and economists have recognized, they knew that pastoral nomadism, pastoral community who move from one area to another area, pastoral nomadism is a form of life, is a way of life. Their way of life, it's a form of life that is perfectly suited, fitted, that is perfectly fit, suited means fit, to many hilly areas and desert areas of the world. These people are fit to live in these regions of semi-arid regions, hilly areas, desert areas. These people can survive there because they know, they have learned. We cannot manage to live there in these such harsh conditions where hilly areas, cold winters, in the snow-capped mountains just below there, and in the dry regions such as deserts, plateau regions. It's very difficult for us to survive. But these people are fit. They are perfectly suited to many hilly areas and desert regions of the world because they have adapted themselves to the new times and they managed to survive. So you see that this is the end of the chapter. Now in our next class we'll talk about peasants and farmers around the world. First we'll talk about the outside, America. First England, then we'll talk about England, the peasants and farmers of England. Then we'll talk about the peasant and farmers of America. Then we'll talk about the peasant and farmer of India. So the 3 parts are there. So we'll talk one by one. So this much for today. You go through the book at home. Do not waste your time. The best way to keep yourself engaged is to study, learn, read. Many of you have very poor reading capacity. You must read at home. Writing capacity you must have. Read and understand. These are the things that will always make you, that will help you to improve. So improvement doesn't come just like that. Improvement comes when you put yourself, your mind and body to that work, concentrating. So that's all for today. So we'll meet in the next class and hope you are staying safe. That's all for today. Thank you for watching the video.